It's gone from 8 down to only 5 here at the very end on the final lap as Will Lyon and Ryan Carwile are going to swap the lead. It's going to be Sanchez on the outside. Can Tyler maybe sneak it past both of them? Will the lap traffic play a part? Big lift from Lyon. That's going to send him backwards. Sanchez tries to find some clean air. They've lost ground to Carwile. Is it going to be close enough that they can catch him down to the finish? What about that lap traffic in front? That's Arribas trying to stay out of the way. He's actually helping Carwile. Carwile's got the draft, and he is going to take the win here at Indianapolis.
Looks like he might try to go around the outside here. Oh, it's going to be tight.
Lepisto wants another win, and
no!
They come together. They're absolutely coming together, and one is in the barrier. The other just manages to stay off. Lepisto doesn't hit anything other than fair and growl, but there goes a potential win.
Yeah, massive chaos there for those drivers. Here is the replay of that. Yeah, the little tip there from Van Rassel. Ooh, talk about some narrow margins from Stephen Orrell.
I was going to say, there's still a chance that we could see a change of position here. Togo's a little too hot, but Ove Trangrade gets very close. Surely he's going to try and send a go. No, he's covered off as Miko defends the inside down into the Casio triangle. Now he has to be smooth on the throttle to seal the deal, and he is, as he comes to the line, our 7th different winner of the season to tie the record. Miko Makela gets his first ever win here in Japan. Yeah, he's going to have to really dive in to try and take it here. Decides not to. Maybe into the Melbourne hairpin. Ooh, it's a fantastic run. And defending the 183, tries to cover him off. Now he's back to the racing line, sends it in deep. And can he get it done? We won't get to know because we have to go to Tom Layton, who is going to take the win. And with this, the championship for the 2022 Porsche Owners Club Sim Racing Series. Look at that, celebrating because he knows he has gotten it. It's going to be a race to the line. Look at this, a drag race down to it at the end. Will it be Mayorga or Bolton? It's going to be Bolton.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to ride around the world.
I'm Mick Claridge, and I'm going to ride around the world on my bike.
My son, he gave me advice at the start of this ride, and he looked at me and just said, "Dad, don't be a moron."
Let me do my animal signal to gain their respect.
How's it going, Sally? Yeah, I'm alright, Mick. How's it going?
Worse than that bit in Lord of the Rings where they go into the top and the spiders in the tunnel. I'm just hoping there's a spider at the top of this one to kill me.
Freezing.
And I failed. I moroned up the ride.
While the GTO Championship is on the verge of being decided, only 2 points separate our GTP leaders. Lepisto could mathematically take it home today, but it takes some extreme circumstances. Will this give Aitor any hesitation to take risks? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 11 of the Camel GT Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is IMSA driver Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. VIR often creates some tumultuous races in Camel. Let's head to our track guide to find out why. Welcome to Virginia International Raceway. This track near the southern border of its namesake has had the rare blessing of being resurrected from the dead. With 2 decades of use in its modern incarnation and still drawing regular visits from IMSA and Trans Am, it's safe to say that VIR is back and thriving. The owners didn't skimp on refurbishing the place either. An impressive 7 versions are available to run on iRacing, with viewing areas that include posh villas near South Bend that can be rented by fans. The track's long and complex layout has earned it some colorful corner names too. The horseshoe kicks things off right away with a never-ending double apexer that tends to suck the greedy out into its runoff. Later on, fast cars lacking downforce are sent through the terrifying climbing S's and spit out of the steep drop of South Bend. Of course, there's perhaps the most famous turn of Oak Tree, which has sadly lost its eponymous flora in real life, but is retained here in the virtual world. Let's not forget one of the scariest obstacles at the end of the lap, the roller coaster. The incredible speed drivers carry up into this blind braking zone is what causes it to require such immense bravery in order to get the most out of a lap. As you'd expect, the high number of corners makes passing rather difficult. Add in the fact that many of them are dangerously swift, and track position can wind up being a major factor in races. With the picturesque backdrop of the Appalachians around them, fans are not left wanting when they come to watch drivers face off at this historic track. It's no wonder the circuit has found success in its second chance at life. Well, Joey, this is going to be an interesting one for multiclass. That's putting it mildly, I think.
Yes, mildly at best. VIR is a very narrow racetrack and one of my favorites ever here in North America, filled with a lot of fast sections as well as a lot of slower technical turns. And you nailed it, Joe, multi-class racing, especially when you go through turns like turn 4 and 5, which is on here, the left hook and the snake. It gets really narrow, and then it is single file up through the climbing S's and through South Bend. Turn 10, watch that corner to catch a lot of cars out, especially with going too fast and going off on drivers right there. The cars will definitely be taking full advantage down the back straightaway. And then once again, roller coaster and hog pen. It is called roller coaster because you start at the top of the hill and you end up all the way down at the hog pen. By the end, you're at the bottom. And it is one ride around VIR, but you put 2 different classes on here and there's plenty of choke points.
Yeah, no doubt. So we'll have to watch out for that as this notoriously chaotic series will find them, no doubt. Now, as for the point situation, as I mentioned, prototypes are looking like things could get very interesting here with only 2 points separating Anti Lepisto and Heitor Sintez Galindo. And they've been swapping back and forth as to who finishes ahead of the other the last 4 races. So it's been this way for some time, and it's been hovering around these very close marks. Timothy Reed and Laust Olsen need to beat both of them to be able to stay in the hunt into the final round, because it's 25 points for a win. Then look at the battle between Jungbluth and Power for that 5th spot. 2 points separating them. Still very close, pretty much all the way down through these top 10, but it's the top 2 that are the most likely to be fighting for the championship. We also have the GTO Championship, Joey. That one is a little different, though.
It is a little bit different. It's pretty much all but wrapped up. There's 2 real contenders here between Yuka Leskala and looks like Javier Del Olmo up there with only 15 points difference. But we'll have to keep an eye on Yuka Leskala and his performance today, see if he can seal that up. And then Reed Miller is also in close contention, but 27 points back there, just a little bit too far out of touch. And then rounding out the top 5 is Ian Haycox and Doug Cloud. Have a little bit of a battle between Timothy Vaughn and Hideki Kovisto out there. And then the names a little bit further down, Mark Ole, Jamie Hommelsmith, and Fabian Steischeg.
From there, today's race details are your typical camel race, 40 minutes in length and an open setup. Now, wonder what we're going to see out of the Nissans for that open setup, because this is a track that could use some downforce, but also could do well with some speed on some of those long straights. No spare car if you get damage. While the barriers are pretty far away in a number of places, the speeds are high, and it's also quite easy to run into another car by accident. So expect damage to be a concern. Drive-through penalty at 17 incidents, disqualification at 25. So, as the first of our drivers have managed to get laps down, Farron Grau, once again looking very good today, as he has the provisional pole, at least in the prototypes. Del Olmo leads over in the GTOs, but Yuko Leskala has yet to set a time, so will that change the order over there?
Looking at Yuka right now, he's going up through the climbing S's, about to hit the fast part of the S's on the racetrack, so he's got a little ways before he puts down a lap time out there. And you mentioned it, Javier Del Olmo currently on top of the board in GTO provisional pole right now.
Yeah, so he's trying to take that fight to Yuko as best he can, but so far, Leskala's kind of had the pace, even though Javier's been close to him, closer than a lot of rivals have been in seasons past to Leskala. In fact, Javier's one of the few that has beat him to the championship here. So Leskala coming around along Madison Avenue. Won't know what his time is going to be until he crosses the line. Looks like our prototype's pretty much all done. Grau holds that pole by only half a tenth over Lepisto, and then another half a tenth down to Iamaki, with Michael the Turk 700ths behind him. In fact, the top five separated by barely a quarter of a second. It's extremely tight up there in the prototypes. Let's see what Yuko's got for us. And oh, his first lap actually got deleted, it looks like. This time is going to be important. A 45 flats. Well, he only needed the one. He's half a second ahead of Del Olmo.
Impressive lap time. Not that uncommon, though, out of that number one Yuka Leskala machine. Seen a lot of speed out of that number one Audi all year this year.
Ian Haycox has his one final flying lap. Looks like deleted laps is something of a trend here, because Ian also lost his first lap. I also see Don Peak, who's still out on track, has failed to set a time in both of his laps, unfortunately. So he'll be gridded at the back of the GTO field. But Ian Haycox tends to be at the sharp end of things, so he really wants to get this one nice and solid. I wonder if he's backed off just maybe 1% to make sure that he stays within the boundaries.
You mentioned the off tracks, Joe. This is an older version of VIR, and we were talking about it earlier. It's a pretty narrow racetrack, so if you overstep the limit on maybe your braking point, or even maybe just miss an apex on some of these slower turns, it can be easy to run wide and simply dip a tire off the track for a 1X.
Which deletes your lap time here in iRacing if you're new to this simulator. So let's see what Haycox has. 46.9. Definitely not pole. In fact, wow, he's down in 9th position with that one. Ian's going to have a bit of a rough day to make good on this one. A lot of passes to be made, which takes us to our starting grid. And as I mentioned earlier, Farron Grau is going to be on the pole for the prototypes. Antti Lepisto, who comes in as our points leader by only 2 points, will start from second. Ardo Iamaki will be third, and Michael de Turk fourth. Sintez Galindo only good enough for 5th position here today. He's got work to do himself. Timothy Reed starts 6th with Ove Trangarade in 7th. Martin Krajcik will begin from P8. After that, it's Seamus Power 9th. Aaron Humphrey in the 10th position. Next slide sees Laus Dolson with a bit of a poor performance qualifying in 11th. Brendan Lim in 12th will be followed by Tim Yonk. And Cam Porter's the last of the drivers in the prototypes to set a time at 14th. A bunch of them gridded up at the back. Carlos Fonseca, Jason Clapper, Kurt Clapper, Jeffrey Furcon, and Christian Arribas. What's the GTO field look like, Joey?
It's a packed GTO field with our top 3 in points. In the top 4 positions, pole going to Yuka Leskala, sharing the front row with him. Javier Del Olmo, those are your top 2. Third place, Timothy Vaughn, and then Reed Miller, your third place in points. So watch out for the front of this GTO field. It should be a fight. Fourth, Hideki Kovisto, Doug Cloud rounding out 6th place there. Ari Lappi, Jamie Hummel-Smith, Ian Haycox, Marty Ole there in 10th place. 11th, we got Mark Ole, Christian Schaefer, Oren Laskin, Don Peak, and then Jeff Hooper also did not set a time, but will be out there on track.
And we got a couple cameras to show us perspectives out on the track today, starting with Laus Olsen. As I mentioned, maybe needs to work his way forward a bit out there. And then we also have Ian Haycox, who's kind of in a similar situation. He's ready to go, just waiting for his group to take off, which it looks like they are right now. And then Cam Porter's back once again, last of those that set a time today. And the highest driver that we had set a time was Doug Cloud from 6th here, as he accelerates off and is along his way. So we'll take a pace lap around, and then we will get going. Very cool conditions early in the morning, just before 9 a.m. Virtual Standard Time here in Virginia. Probably what I imagine you would prefer, Joey, instead of the typical IMSA dates here.
Yeah, definitely, Joe. Typically, IMSA races here in August, and it is hot and humid. I would love a mid-60s morning at VIR. That means cool air, maximum grip, just a great time to go racing. And one thing to note, though, about this cooler air temperature, we'll see if it starts to rise up at all, and that might play an effect with the car setup with these competitors.
Indeed. Yeah, we talked a little bit about wanting to maybe figure out which way you want to lean in the GTPs, since they do have these long straights. Those cars are a little less susceptible to slipstream, but I'm sure straight line speed is always good, especially for those, like we mentioned, that may be a little bit farther than they anticipated, Joey. I wonder if maybe they made some last second tweaks to trim it out.
I think that the back straight of VIR is deceivingly long. It is very, very long, and you can get a great slipstream out of it, but more important than the slipstream is that traction and run out of Oak Tree. And here in the simulator, we still get the beautiful Oak Tree turn, which is great to see. And as long as you can get your car launched out of Oak Tree, you got a good run down the straightaway. And these cars are probably going to see 170, if not 180 miles an hour down this back straight.
There you see the GTO field actually just coming through South Bend. Of course, they split the starts here, so that's where you see Leskola and Del Olmo kind of backed away from much of the tail end of the prototypes, which are actually just most of the way down the Madison Avenue backstretch there, as you can see them all getting lined up and ready to go now, trying to get accordion together and make sure that they're close to their rivals once we get that green flag. This is the penultimate round. This is going to be important in both classes in very different ways. We could see things wrapped up if you are Yuko Leskola, but between Lepisto and Sindez Galindo, it's going to be who finishes ahead most likely, because potentially that could determine who goes into the final round with an advantage in points. There is the roller coaster that you heard Joey mentioning as they plunge down that long hill into Hogpen. And it's a pretty long run down to the first corner. So will Farrengrau be under threat from Lepisto by the time he gets there? Ante probably going to try and take that lead so that he can take maximum points here as easily as possible. There's the Porsche pace car now peeling in. And that gives control over to Grau. He waits for it. He knows it's a long run. He's gonna wait as long as he can. Green flag is now out, and Grau is on it, but it's a very good start behind him as it's Iamaki instead. A different Finn is gonna take second place. In fact, Lepisto now being beaten to the corner by DeTurk, and he falls all the way down to fourth place, but it's a clean start for the prototypes. Let's go to the GTOs. Joey?
Pretty clean start for the GTOs. Leskola actually gets in too deep into turn one. A little bit of contact between Del Olmo and Leskola. And look at this. This is going to open the door for somebody we didn't talk about, and that's Doug Cloud. Made his way all the way up into the second position in GTO.
What a start from sixth place. Oh no, Reed Miller. Well,
yeah.
There goes pretty much any hope he had to try and stay in the championship, because he needed to beat those rivals, and now he's doing some more damage to the car, hitting up against the Armco, but at least he's back on the track.
Yeah, it was a little bit busy back there. I know we're going to jump back to the GTP battle. Looks like they're pretty single file coming out of Oak Tree. We'll see who gets the main run down the back straightaway for the first time.
Well, Lepisto's probably not happy about that start. He's down to fifth, but Sintez Galindo is now directly behind him. So he's licking his chops, thinking that he's now got a way better shot at things than he anticipated as they gritted up out the roller coaster once again. It is a stretch away for Farrengrau, the teammate for Sintez Galindo. So watch out if those get close together, because he might hand that over to him. DeTurk, though, look at this. He's got Timothy Reed closing right in on him. This is going to be for third place. Does Tim make a move?
Looks like they're going to be pretty close going down here into turn one. A little bit of a defensive line. They're a little bit of the outside, maybe over, under, coming out of turn one, turn two. This is really all a rhythm section here through NASCAR is what we like to call it. Just kind of keep the momentum up. You might be able to take a shot here into turn five, but really, Joe, from here on out, your next opportunity is maybe at Oak Tree.
Yeah, and while they separate a little bit, things have actually changed positions in the GTOs. Del Olmo took that second place back from Doug Cloud, but even still, Doug running in the podium positions. He's one of our onboard cams today, and he's now dealing with Timothy Vaughn just behind him. They're going to come into left hook and then down towards the snake, which right now isn't too much of a challenge, I would hope, with it being flat out through here. But once we get those Nissans through, it could be a real terror.
You mentioned Doug Cloud still hanging on to this podium position. We're riding on board with them right now. He's got that virtual reality headset on, making his way through the S's. There's a lot of technical sections here at VIR, especially the S's, that if you get it wrong at the beginning, you are chasing your tail all the way through here. And yeah, you noticed Javier Del Olmo made that spot back up to second position, but I tell you what, Doug Cloud has got some company in the form of Timothy Vaughn right up under the back of his rear wing.
And he didn't seem happy with that corner exit, shaking his head as soon as he came off. And this might be a change for position here as they come into the roller coaster. No, he's going to stay behind. Oh, but Sintez Galindo just went off course. He's already had 2 attempts at trying to overtake Anti Lepisto. This one went south, unfortunately, and he's down to 7th, lost a spot instead of gained 1.
He's going to have to put a little bit of damage control on in this race, but you see he's jam-packed, really. 2 cars in front of him and about 4 or 5 cars behind him. We jump back. This is the number 18. Looks like had some contact with the 25 as well, off track there, exit of turn 3.
Yeah, I think it was a bit of a spin from Clapper. Jason Clapper and Brendan Lim had to try and go around him, unfortunately. So let's stay here in these upper position battles. And once again, Turk and Reed have not given up on theirs. Look at the gap behind them, though. You can't even see Lepisto in these shots yet. So he has really lost a lot to this pair just with those couple little battles that he had as they break at the end of Madison Avenue. Looks like Turk is going to be well away.
And the brake zone at the end of that straightaway, Joe, it is so tricky. You're coming up over a hill, but not only do you come uphill, but you got to go over the crest, and then you come all the way down the roller coaster like we mentioned. But look at this draft here that we've got in the 4th place car on screen. He might be able to take a look down the inside of turn 1 here. Another interesting fact, the front straightaway is curved, so it's not as easy as it looks to just poke your nose down the inside.
Yeah, you got to hope that person just leaves enough space, I got to think, as they stay relatively close, though, through NASCAR Bend. Also, worth mentioning, eagle-eyed viewers may have seen in the background that Sintez Galindo got 6th back from Craytrick. So Lepisto's the next one up the road from him. There you see him on screen now.
We just had a wreck for P3 and GTO. Unfortunately, Doug Cloud and Timothy Vaughn came together at the end of the back straight. And I think that's Hideki Kovisto out there going for a ride at the end of the back straightaway as well, missing his brake marker. But these two were just side by. Oh no, the 19 gets into the 21, and that might end up in the tire wall. That's a downhill battle out there.
Lappy's just going to keep it out of the tires, but he's having some connection issues. And, man, Doug Cloud looks like maybe the car is damaged because of that. So that is a real shame. Also, that was Ian Haycox, actually, that went deep into the corner. I think he had to take avoiding action because of Doug Cloud. There's that side-by-side. Oh, did he have help, actually?
Yes, he definitely had help there. The 19 got turned around by Vaughn. They were side by side going into the brake zone here.
Yeah, and just turns him around. It's not what Doug was hoping for. After such a great start, that's really disappointing to see. And then there is, yeah, Haycox looks like he was a little distracted when it sent it in deep and then had to clamber back onto the course. As that was happening, Timothy Reed finally overtook Turk for third place down the front stretch. And look at this. The top two have not been able to get away from them. That's Grau and Iamaki in P1 and P2.
Absolutely. This is a race for the lead right now, and it's not only the lead, but 4 cars, 5 cars in one shot right here. Gonna climb up these S's. This is my favorite part of this racetrack, jumping up these climbing S's flat out on the gas.
Over those curbs and then cresting up towards South Bend. And you can see they are very much on it here as they fly through those. Still haven't hit traffic. It's a longer lap time than a lot of tracks in these prototypes, but I have a feeling that that's not going to save them much headache because of the narrowness of the track that we talked about a little bit earlier. So once they start to reach the back of the field, which actually should be within the next lap because Marty Ollie is up ahead of them, it's going to start to really kick off here.
It will kick off, and I've been in plenty of multi-class races at VIR, and let me tell you, it gets narrow really fast. And one other thing that we haven't talked about is that elevation compression coming out of Hogpen there. You see this car we're riding along with just really charge it into that corner and use that compression for extra grip, and you can definitely do that. The car sticks to the racetrack through there.
Oh, but we got a traffic jam as Marty is trying to give them space, but it caused a huge checkup for Grau. Iamaki gets by, and it's going to be Reed, who we were on board with. And unfortunately for Michael Turk, he has to take the long way around of NASCAR Bend, so he loses a little bit of touch. Oh, but my goodness, look at the leaders now absolutely plugged up behind Art Lappy and Doug Cloud.
You can't do anything. You can't run over these slower class cars. They have a right to the racetrack just as much as you, and this is going to cause some chaos going up the S's. Oh my goodness, those second, third, fourth place GTP cars trying to make their way through the Audis.
Yeah, they knew that they were going to try and send it in. That's a battle for the lead. They have to leave space, and they just about ran Sintez Galindo off the course, who's still in 6th behind Lepisto. Down the backstretch now, one of the few reprieves from this traffic as they can easily go past in a straight line. Grau gets a gap of about half a second after all is said and done.
I think one of the reasons this is so hair-raising is a lot of these funnel and choke points at VIR are very high-speed differences between the classes. And as we see the leaders come down here through Hogpen, my goodness, this is a ton of pressure from Iamaki onto our leader, Farron Grau.
Iamaki's got a great run here, but they might have to go 3 wide with Reed and Miller there on the side of the track. And yeah, that's caused some hesitation there from Ardo, although he's going to send it in deep around the outside of Horseshoe. Yeah, I didn't think that was going to happen. Oh, but Sintez Galindo and Lepisto side by side. This is going to be a significant swing if that's the case. No, we can't get it done. As it sits, if they finish with Lepisto 5th and Sintez Galindo 6th, it'll only be 3 points between them in the final round.
Yeah, this is a heated little...
Sorry, he just got into the back of Oren Laskin. He tried to anticipate where he was going to position his Audi and unfortunately ran into the rear bumper.
You called it. No, you're right. This is a scrap right here between 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th place on the racetrack. Looks like we've got another GTP around, but yeah, when these GTP cars get mixed up with the GTOs, there isn't much place on the racetrack to go.
Oh my goodness, and they're side by side battling for position. Reed Miller and Christian Schaefer here, and basically 4 GTPs have no place to go until now. And finally, Sintez Galindo can weave his way past. He's being chased by Ove Trangarade behind them. That's a bit of 2 wide racing. Oh my goodness, that's going to be 3 wide and actually forces a checkup from Seamus Power as Martin Krajcik banged doors with him. Oh my goodness, and the GTO lead, has changed hands. Suddenly Del Olmo is ahead of Lescala, and it's going to go side by side down into turn 1. Not sure when this started to act up, but Del Olmo's not giving it up. He's got just about a nose ahead.
Yeah, he does. That is Leskala now in the second place, racing very respectful with Del Olmo right now in that orange car. I gotta say, Leskala maybe made a mistake here in the previous couple laps because he certainly seems to have the speed over Del Olmo right now, and maybe is just being a little bit patient on where he picks his move.
Oh, absolute heartbreak for Aitor Sintez Galindo. He's had to come into pit lane to take some repairs. So he is now way behind, and Sintez Galindo does not have drop weeks. So he can't afford a 0 to his name, and the points go down to 20th. So it looks like he'll get at least 2 points at the very minimum here, but that is that's going to hurt if that's what he gets in the end.
I don't want to say I'm a little psychic, but we talked about turn 10 in South Bend and sending it off too deep, and I did a little bit of a replay check. That's exactly what Jukka Leskala did. He was 3+ seconds out front, but he's got a great draft right now on Javier. Thinks twice of it, gonna wait for a little bit of a better move. That's ultimately what gave Javier Del Olmo that lead change, as Leskala drove it off the racetrack himself.
Trying to keep championship hopes alive to get another in his hands. Oh, and our former leader, or at least second place, I think, Ardo Iamaki, has gotten massive damage in the roller coaster. So now Deturk is promoted to second, Timothy Reed into third, Lepisto fourth, and shuffle them all up down to sixth position. Surely he can't carry on like this. No, he's going to come back in. So Sintez Galindo gets bumped up to 14th most likely after this one, as this carries on. And I said it's going to be a little bit frantic, and lo and behold, we're a mere 13 minutes in and things are off the rails already.
Off the rails indeed. That was quite an impact by Iamaki out there. I backed it up and checked that replay, and yeah, it was actually a multi-class incident there, Joe. But we keep this battle on the GTO lead right here. This is Javier Del Olmo leading Leskala, but these GTP cars are just trying to find a way by.
Now, this is going to be important because it's a 3-point difference, excuse me, between first and second place in this series. So if Del Olmo beats Leskala, that puts him within 12. And while it's still a bit of a long shot, that's a pretty realistic shot at trying to take the championship in the final round. And should be interesting as they exit out here onto Madison Avenue. Ove Trangrade is going to leave them be as they head their way towards the roller coaster, but still far enough ahead. Leskala doesn't really have a chance here into this corner.
I think that Leskala is being very smart right now, Joe. I think that he does have the faster race car. He realizes there's still 25 minutes left in this race, not to mention GTP cars can throw a huge curveball at any given time. He's just waiting for the best possible opportunity to get next to Javier Del Olmo, which it might be here in turn 1. He's going to draw up alongside going into the braking zone. We'll see if he capitalizes going deeper on the brakes. We've seen him go around the outside a couple times. Looks like he is going to clear Del Olmo and promote him back up to the lead. Jukka Leskala in a familiar spot.
He gets that spot back, and we'll see what happens with, I think this is Krajcik. Yeah, this is Krajcik here. Hopefully this doesn't interrupt it. Once he goes by these leaders, I want to get a chance to head off to a replay of an earlier incident. And there you go. That's why I wanted to hold around. Leskala, with an uncharacteristic mistake, goes off just before the snake, and now Del Olmo's back into the lead once again. Wow.
I don't think this is the last time we're going to see it happen. That's 2 mistakes out of Jukka Leskala so far this race. I expect him to crawl back up under Del Olmo, and we'll see another battle soon.
All right, I think now we have a chance to take a look at the replay we wanted to pull up here. Let's see, we've had a lot of incidents. I don't know which one we're going to take a glance at. Okay, this is Iamaki's incident. Oh, yeah, didn't expect him to take to the racing line there. And just plowed into him really, really hard there. Iamaki's actually retired the car since then. It was too much damage for him to get it back on track, I'm guessing. And whoa! I think, was that to Turk's view there? That was Timothy Reed, excuse me. We were watching from. Man, that is where you wipe your brow and you kiss whatever lucky rabbit's foot you have hiding in your pocket.
It was multi-class racing at its finest there, Joe, and we saw that the GTO car let one GTP car through. He probably knew there was more coming up behind, but he didn't think that there was enough time before the corner, and let me tell you, Iamaki certainly thought he had enough time, but it didn't work out.
And as we get a little bit of a side-by-side battle into the braking of the roller coaster, that's Doug Cloud going by Christian Schaefer. Great recovery from Doug here. He's already up to 8th position, so not too shabby on that one. And then is this also for position? That's Schaefer and Martiali. Yes, indeed. So this is for 9th onto the front stretch. Is Schaefer going to be suffering from the slipstream being given to Marty? It does look like it. As he starts to approach around the outside, he's going to have to outbrake very deep, and wow, he sends it in. Oh, too deep, out into the grass, and he's gone. As, we cut back over. No, there we go. Here he is on screen now. The 15 is unfortunately into the grass.
It's so easy to overstep it, and especially in a turn one, we're going to see another opportunity, a late braking move here with two GTPs going next to each other. Is this the battle for the lead right now?
It is indeed. Grau wants it back from Deturk, and he's going to slice through down into the horseshoe, tries to cut back though, and Deturk gets the over-under, pulls up alongside him on the desired racing line, but he's on the outside, and somehow he hangs tough around NASCAR Bend, and Deturk will fend him off.
Impressive racing from Deturk. It's not easy to go side by side, over, under, through one, side by side through turn 5, and the battle rages on going up the uphill S's. Not enough area to make a move right here, but let me tell you, you can put plenty of pressure getting tucked up under the back of the wing of the GTP car.
Grau started on pole position, and anything less than a win is probably going to be a little bit disappointing here for the number 23. The Club Iberia driver tries to get the exit off of Oak Tree, but doesn't seem to have the grip, and he'll fall back to about 0.4 of a second behind.
Just a little bit of an arm's distance now between the two. Slipstream will come into effect, but too far away for that car in second place to make a move. Got to hit your marks coming down through this roller coaster and hog pen section. Not to mention, we got a blinking GTO car right in front of him. That is always worrisome out your windshield.
Oh, and he just gives enough space for both of them. I can't believe they made it through there. That was just about enough to climb over the curb, and I'm glad that they didn't spin out because of that, but I thought for sure we were going to see an accident in both cases.
I'm over here giggling to myself because, yeah, there was not enough room for cars to go through there, but they certainly made it work. I think we had another little incident here. I believe this is the number 13 GTP car, Martin Kretschik right now. I think he had a little bit of an off track, maybe coming out of Oak Tree. See a GTO car. Timothy Vaughn was the one who was off track there out of Oak Tree.
Yeah, so he's down to 5th if he lost a position. Otherwise, he's where he was before. That was one of our, I think that was Kurt Clapper going by and just trying to get back into his race, lapping them. They've also got Jeffrey Furcon in behind, and Ian Haycox, after he had an off earlier, is behind them in 6th. Laust Olsen, one of our onboards here today, as he is hot on the heels of Aaron Humphrey. Laust only up to 7th, but that's still a gain of 4. So that's a net positive for him. Can he make it 5? Let's see what kind of exit he gets here out of Oak Tree.
This is the one area of the racetrack that you actually get to breathe a little bit, Joe. Going down the back straightaway. Now, granted, you're slamming gears in these GTP cars, but throughout the majority of the rest of this racetrack, you're holding your breath.
As he sits about half a second behind Aaron Humphrey. Heard Timothy Reed give an apology to somebody. I'm checking to see if he had any sort of... Oh, he did have some contact, actually. It was with Marty Ollie. Sent him off the course with some net code, unfortunately, as Aitor Sintes Galindo is back up to 11th at this stage, still trying to make up points to Lepisto, who's right now sitting 4th.
We'll have to keep an eye on that championship battle. Still an impressive run out of Michael Deturk leading the race currently. actually has about a second and a half over Fair and Grau right now. I think that's the biggest lead out of these two that we've seen all day.
Indeed. And coming back through the snake here, that battle, for sixth, unfortunately gets separated. And side-to-side contact, as that was Ari Lappi, and Laust Olsen just about scraped some of the paint off. In fact, he did manage to come together and ruin that livery, so he'll hold on to seventh, but Martin Krajcik gained a bunch as he got held up there.
This is the 10 core. This is Aitor Sintes Galindo around, Joe.
Loses another position. He's down to 12th now. Not sure if he had any sort of contact in there. No, he spun himself. Car is not happy right now. So 12th position means, I believe, only 9 points. Yeah, 9 points as opposed to the 18 for Lepisto sitting in fourth. So that's going to make an 11-point difference at the end of the race if this is where they finish.
Keeping an eye on all big things picture in this race, I've noticed that Jukka Leskala is starting to pump out some lap times in his GTO car. He's running about a half second faster consistently. It looks like we got Laust Olsen off the racetrack out of hog pen. Probably just got in a little bit too deep there. It's so easy to do coming down the hill.
And perfectly illustrated the wide open runoff areas of grass as he just went way out there. And Lepisto is going to try to increase the damage, the pain for Sintes Galindo, as he's now trying to see if he can overtake Timothy Reed and get onto the podium. And I'd say he's got a good shot at this because it seems like the car is not in too bad a shape. Well, and that'll help out right there, as that is Reed slipping up the tires coming off of Oak Tree.
It is so easy to do, especially in these GTP cars. They like the high speeds and the downforce, and I actually think he's going to lose 2 positions because he did not get the traction coming off of that corner, which is so crucial down the long straightaway.
Yeah, down to 5th place for Reed. Trangrade loves it, though. He's now up into 4th place. Lepisto is in the clear. He's got nobody around him, so very solidly into 3rd as we get a car off. That is Don Peak, it looks like, through the horseshoe. He's running in 12th, has gained 2 positions from where he started this race. Not sure what caused that one. By the way, in terms of Leskala and Del Olmo, well, let's stay here with this battle. Trangarade versus Reed, and Reed really wanted that spot back but couldn't quite get side by side. They've got Ian Haycox ahead. This is going to be an inconvenient spot.
Looks like they're going to clear the Audi going through turn 5 there. It's actually going to separate the 2 GTP cars. Yeah, this is going to be crucial here. This is going to leave just a little bit of breathing room for Trangrade, exactly what he wanted.
I mean, a little bit. It cost him 3.5 seconds right there. So yeah, that did not work out for Timothy Reed. So the point I was going to make in that battle for the lead and for the championship between Del Olmo and Leskala, I'm glad I did my notes, not during the race, my math is, what happened to Grau here? Had some smoke there at Oak Tree.
It is always a funnel point in Oak Tree. It's actually a double braking zone, which can be really tricky with multi-class cars approaching at different speeds coming up through there. And Joe, I know that we were talking about Del Olmo and Leskala, and you were talking about the points, but Leskala has slowly but surely closed it back into 1.5 seconds now.
So Grau had a half spin there coming through Oak Tree. Didn't hit the wall, but did go off course. So to my point, maybe I had over dramatized things a little bit. Those 12 points actually would not make a realistic chance because of the drop weeks. At the very least, Del Olmo will get 14. So Leskala only needs to be 11 points ahead of Del Olmo, and 11 plus 14 is 25, and tiebreakers will go to Leskala. So essentially, by finishing 2nd place, Leskala will clinch it here.
I tell you what, though, Javier Del Olmo is doing everything that he needs to do to put himself back into contention. And We still have 14 minutes left in this race. We've seen Jukka Leskala make 2 mistakes so far. Will a third mistake happen? And it could end up with damage at that point.
Indeed. Well, right now, looks like as they fly along the back stretch, Leskala's got to make up that 1.3 seconds to at least take the win over his rival. It really has become a rival over these past few seasons, as Leskala and Delmo have gotten pretty close on pace, but it's only been 2 victories to Javier this season. He'd like to try and catch that up somewhat, even if he can't take the championship. Meanwhile, we head back to Humphrey as he's, well, did something happen? Because he's 12 seconds off Timothy Reed here. No, it looks like he was just being held up, unfortunately. This is the battle between the 24 of Hamill Smith and between Vaughn in the number 12. This is for 4th place as they head out of the final corner, out of Hogpen, and up the hill once again to the start-finish line. Vaughn down 1 from where he started, but Hamill Smith, a nice gain of 3 so far.
I tell you what, Timothy Vaughn has been in the wars today. He was involved in some of those first lap scrums, as well as a couple incidents a little bit later. If I remember correctly, he had a GTP halfway in his trunk at one point in this race. So I think 4th place isn't too shabby right now for this number 12 car.
Yeah, that's a good point. Vaughn was the one that kind of got shoved off by Lepisto, or no, I think it was Iamaki. Yeah, it was Iamaki that got into him. So just unfortunate things got to where they were. Meanwhile, man, and this, looking from this camera angle through the snake really shows you just how frantic it is, how on your toes you have to be with so many variables in front and around you. And the drivers, going around the outside there. Timothy Vaughn forcing him as far as he can go.
The racetrack gets really narrow up there through turn 10 and the top of the S's there, and then here the slowest part of the racetrack through Oak Tree. Important to get that power down, and look at this. Laust Olsen has a great run on this car in front of him. That looks like Tim Yonk up there, just waiting for that right time to slipstream right by him.
He's looking for it, showing his nose. Is he actually going to try and outbrake him, though? No, he can't quite do it. Just not enough of a braking zone, although he sends him a little wide there, and he's keeping him in touch. But so is Leskala on Del Olmo. Our lead in the GTOs is going to swap around, and it looks like, maybe it's not going to be done this time. Thought maybe the Leskala was down into the corner far enough that he could chop down, but he could not manage to cover off Javier. So it still remains with the 3 car in the lead, but Leskala is truly there.
Leskala is indeed there. He tried that outside line around turn 1, which we've seen him be successful in the past in this race, but was not up far alongside enough this time to make the pass work. They're going to be heading up into the climbing S's here, and these Audis, they're doing probably, let's see here, about 150 miles an hour up through these S's through turn 10, where Leskala had his problem earlier in the race, gets through cleanly, and now just has to deal with the GTP car between them.
He's going to split them. Kind of a critical part. This is where Leskala needs the good exit. And look at this. Farron Grau and Antti Lepisto. Lepisto spinning up the tires, coming over the roller coaster, and he can't get the throttle down.
Lepisto has been licking his lips at this battle. Farron Grau had that little half spin out of Oak Tree earlier, Joe, and it's just been hanging on ever since, because I tell you what, Antti Lepisto wants that second place.
Yeah, he knows that the more points he puts between himself and Sintez Galindo, the better off he's going to be in that last round. So he needs these points. He wants these points. And Grau is between himself and second place, which is worth, I believe, 22. Yeah, 22 points, which is a lot better than the 20 that he's got right now. As he closes in and locks him up down into the left hook. Doesn't spin the car, but things are getting a little testy there.
It is such a slow area of the racetrack. The GTP cars with the big wings like the high speed and the aerodynamics. When you get the slow speed and the mechanical grip, that's actually when these cars become really tricky and you see those lockups in the brakes.
So second place would be worth 22, 20 for third, where he sits right now. Whereas Sintez Galindo's gotten back up to 11th. That's worth 10 points. So Again, a significant swing here coming into the last round. In fact, I think no. Well, yeah, he could take the championship, but not today, because I was trying to do the math there once again. So he needs him to finish way down the order there to be able to claim the championship as they come out through the roller coaster one more time. Lepisto still hounding Farron Grau. What looked like potentially a fight for the win early on in this race is now just trying to stay on the podium if you are the 23.
Impressive lap time by Michael de Turk out front. 132's leading the way. We're watching second and third place battle, and these cars are doing mid to high 133s. That number 4 car has checked out from the field.
De Turk on a good day here today. We've seen him do well in Camel before, but it's been a bit since we've seen him take a victory. And there is the lap differences. They're always going to be quite jumpy here in Camel just because of the traffic causing so drastic of an ebb and flow. Meanwhile, do we have a change of position here? Timothy Vaughn, past Hideki Koivisto. That's back onto the podium for the number 12.
Gotta put a smile on the face of Timothy Vaughn. He drafted down the back straight right past Koivisto into that braking zone, into the final podium spot, Timothy Vaughn.
Still got 7 minutes to go. It's a few laps left for these drivers, so things could easily change. And I got to stay very heads up to try and avoid the many pitfalls of racing Camel at VIR. Bit of a puff of smoke from Koivisto as he locks up the tires as well. Haycox just took another one. Ian Haycox is now up to 5th as he's demoted Hamill Smith. This has been a fantastic recovery from Ian. He's actually up positions from where he began.
Something else I want to point out, I know that I misnamed him earlier. This number 5 car had troubles on the start, plus troubles, I believe, lap 1 or lap 2 later in the race. So you're right, Joe. Fantastic recovery drive from Ian Haycox out there. I know that we usually give him a lot of love, and this is a race that no short of some impressive driving out there, especially with only 1 foot.
Yeah, he's doing fantastic right now, recovering and then adding on top of what he's already managed to do. Ahead of them, though, way ahead of him, about half the track, Del Olmo suddenly has Lescala right on his bumper once again. And they've only got about, I think, 4 laps left here. So let's see what this run is for Yuko. You talked about the curved front stretch. Will Del Olmo just hug that inside line to deny Lescala a chance? No, he's going to leave the door open. Yuko's going to take it. He'll put his foot through. Can he get over the threshold, though, as they start to hit the binders down into the horseshoe? This is going to take a mighty effort from the 3, and just gets squeezed out a little bit as he now gives it up. Yuko's your leader once again.
Interesting choice from the number 3, although, Joe, I want to say we've seen Yuka Lescala pass Javier Del Olmo twice on the outside. Maybe Javier thought that he could hold it better on the outside, but I think the key was how deep the number 1 car took it on the brakes, and we're going to jump back up. This is Grau and Lepisto still on for 2nd place.
Yeah, speaking of deep, Lepisto was trying his hardest to get that nose in on Grau, but Grau shut the door on him. And Lepisto had to back out, so he's going to have to regroup because he's lost a little bit of time. Look at behind them. That's Traegerade and Reed, and the sort of reverse paint schemes from one another as they are bobbing and weaving down the front stretch. Traegerade on the inside, Timothy Reed on the outside, and they're almost dead even as they enter the corner, but the longer way around does not work for the 6 car.
It's really tough to hang it on the outside. At least if the inside car wants to run you out of space, they can. Turn 1 is actually sharper in the beginning half than it is the back half. And here's a GTO car that's really going to throw a wrench into things.
Well, the lead just swapped in the GTOs as well. Del Olmo got ahead of Lescala. How did this happen?
Yeah, it looks like they've been drafting back and forth down the straightaway. And Del Olmo just took it down the straightaway, Joe.
I think it was a missed shift from Lescala. Whoa, and Ove was on his lid now. We cut back there. I look on the screen, and oh no, he had to check up because of Mark Olay, and poor Reed did not expect him to break in a straight line, literally shoved him into the
Get a replay. This is such a narrow section here, Joe. Yeah, that GTO car. Oh, no. That's a hard impact there, and I think the GTP cars were just trying to make their way through the GTO traffic, and the GTO traffic just saw him at the very last second, and he was already there.
Oh my goodness, our poor director doesn't know where to look because the battle for the lead is on once again for the GTOs as Lepisto almost made a pass on Grau as well. And this is where we almost need a split screen. They're going to go wheel to wheel up through the climbing S's. This is extremely difficult in the GTOs, but Del Olmo holds him back somehow.
Somehow, indeed. I've never seen that, especially with how wide these cars are. It's so easy to hip check somebody off the track here. We're getting a great onboard battle of the cars right in front. That's Lescala in the green car, orange Javier Del Olmo. We're going to go flying by him right here as you see the speed difference, but I don't think this GTO battle is going to be settled until the checkered flag flies.
Certainly not. Lescala knows he could wrap it up, but he's not going to take this one sitting down. Especially since he still has points in his pocket. Big lock up there from Del Olmo coming into the roller coaster. Lescala is going to have another bite, and he's usually strong down into the first corner. Let's see if he can do it again.
Lescala has been very strong coming out of Hogpin and down this front straightaway here. He's pretty close. He's going to try to use the draft at the very end of the straightaway. We'll see if he goes inside or outside. Del Olmo protects inside. That's going to make Lescala go around the outside. He's familiar here. We'll see. They both leave room. Not quite far enough alongside. This time Del Olmo keeps the lead.
And I believe this will be 2 to go for them because De Turk just crossed the line. So he's likely to catch them and try to lap them here. Whoa, big moment for Del Olmo as he dips his wheels into the grass. And Lescala slides it, 4-wheel drift. Is he going to catch it? Somehow he does, using that rally heritage of the Audi 90. He keeps it on the track in the end, but he's lost the time to Del Olmo.
We gotta get a replay of that. I think all the victory laps for Yuka Lescala have finally paid off in a green flag condition because you're right, Joe. He lost it in turn 5, sideways one way, sideways the other way. The beauty of all-wheel drive and keeping that right foot planted, he's still on the racetrack somehow.
Well, this helped out Del Olmo tremendously. He could take the victory from here, but it probably will still be the championship wrapped up for Yuko. Don't know when we'll get a chance for that replay. We might actually have a good opportunity here in a bit since that did separate that battle, and it looks like Grau and Lepisto are pulled apart. So we'll see if we can get that scrolled up. But Michael De Turk about to take the white flag here, and he's overtaken both of our GTO leaders now. So yes, white flag for both GTP and GTO as we come to the line.
Javier Del Olmo off the racetrack in Hogpen. Yuka Lescala now back up to the lead. As quick as that, a simple mistake out of Javier, and Lescala now P1.
I am going to have to check the lap charts after this one. The number of times this lead has changed. He goes deep. He's going to get it right back. He's going to go past him again. Del Olmo back to the front. Lescala makes a mistake. I cannot believe the back and forth we're witnessing.
I feel like I'm playing Uno over here, Joe. Draw 4, skip the card. You know, who's going to lead this last lap? It seems like nobody wants to win this race right now. It's a battle between Javier Del Olmo and Yuka Lescala going up through the snake for the final time.
Oh, he gets right to the bumper. Oh, what happened here? Del Olmo slows and lets him through. Did he miss a shift now? What's going on?
I don't know what happened right there. It looked to be a little bit of fender rubbing. I'm not sure what's going on, but Lescala currently leading the way. We got 2 GTP cars that are going to separate them going into Oak Tree.
Oh, they think this is Grau and Lepisto coming along. Whoa, and in the background, that was Timothy Reed getting shoved off, unfortunately, by Kurt Clapper. But we got to go to Michael De Turk because he is coming around the last couple corners. And the number 4 may have had to inherit a couple spots as a car goes off next to him. One of those GTOs getting lapped. But Michael the Turk had the pace to bring this one home with victory here in the penultimate round of Camel GT. Meanwhile, Leskala leads through the roller coaster unless we get another missed shift for some reason or some crazy change around between the two. It looks like he should have it up and out of Hogpen. He is clear. Leskala, no, he's in pit lane. He's got a black flag. He had too many incidents. That's going to give Del Olmo the win in the end to the line. Del Olmo, how did he take that victory? That was the strangest win I have ever seen in Camel, and that's saying something.
I am over here, and I don't know what to think of the last 3 or 4 laps. We got Laust Olsen battling it out to the line right here. Does not look like he's going to grab it, but Joe, this GTO race, oh my goodness, that was a wild one.
I'm just speechless. I don't know what else can be said about that finish. And I believe Leskala, who's back out on track, he's given his drive-through penalty. I don't believe that'll count. I think he'll still be given a time penalty since that was on the last lap that he served that. Just one of the strangest things I think I've ever seen in racing, and I've called a lot of races at this point. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews after this.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to ride around the world.
I'm Mick Claridge, and I'm going to ride around the world on my bike.
My son, he gave me advice at the start of this ride, and he looked at me and just said, "Dad, don't be a moron."
Let me do my animal signal to gain their respect. How's it going, Sally? Yeah, I'm alright, Mick. How's it going? Worse than that bit in Lord of the Rings where they got into the top and the spiders in the tunnel. I'm just hoping there's a spider at the top of this one to kill me. Freezing.
And I failed. I moroned up the ride.
Well, that was a race, to put it a simple way. And the GTP class was definitely not nearly as crazy, though still wild, as Michael the Turk was first today in the end. Farron Grau from the pole to at least salvage the second place over Ante Lepisto, who will take third. That'll be 20 points. That is a big stretch over his rival, Sintez Galindo. It was fourth for Timothy Reed, just off the podium. He got pounded into the wall there at that very last lap, unfortunately, but still was able to bring it home in that P4. Seamus Power, P5, was ahead of Aaron Humphrey. 4 positions gained, not bad, up to 6. Martin Krajcik, P7, and then Laust Olsen up to 8th. Sintez Galindo wound up 9th today. That's going to get him 12 points, so another 8 points lost. It's going to be possible but difficult for Sintez Galindo in the final round. Tim Yonk was 10th, Cam Porter 11th, and Brendan Lim was P12. After that, Carlos Fonseca 13th, a lap down. Kurt Clapper 14th, Jeffrey Furcon 15th, and Jason Clapper 16th. DNFs for Trangarade, Iamaki, and Erebus. And my goodness, what a GTO race, Joey.
We saw the last few laps, but ultimately it was Javier Del Olmo in the number 3 taking home the race win. If you look, it's actually Yuka Leskala all the way down there in 6th after that drive-through incident. But congratulations to Timothy Vaughn. We noticed he was in the wars today, comes home with that 2nd place finish. Hideki Kovisto rounding out the podium. Ian Haycox and Jamie Hummel-Smith there in the top 5. We mentioned Yuka Leskala in 6th. Mark Ole, 7th place. Doug Cloud, Christian Schaefer, Don Peak down there. And congratulations to Don Peak with that top 10 finish, especially after not putting in a qualifying time. Jeff Hooper, Ari Loppe, Marty Oli, Oren Laskin, and Reed Miller, some of these cars had a little bit of troubles earlier on in the race.
I don't know if I could pick the best moment of that battle, but I think a good contender would be the slide and the catch by Leskala. We're going to take one more look at it. It merits that. Just saw the outside possible, dipped his wheels, and kept his foot. I don't think he lifted. I'm willing to bet he kept his foot in the entire time and somehow got back on track in the process. And that kept his hopes alive. Unfortunately, that meant at least one incident point. Let's watch on board. Let's listen.
Yeah, let me tell you from a driving perspective, foot on the gas modulated a little bit, and he did a great job saving that car.
Wow. I can tell you that the gobsmacked emotions that you're hearing out of me and Joey is genuine. Afterwards, we're all just kind of flummoxed at what we had witnessed. But Michael DeTurk may be a little bit unaware as to how crazy it was. He was our winner in the GTP class. Michael, you inherited a little bit of that lead, but you did have to fight for it at points as well. How's it feel to take another victory here in Camel?
Fun. It's quite a difference from Lotus 79, but it's still an entertaining challenge.
It seemed like things were a little topsy-turvy, which you're used to in Camel, I'm pretty sure. But when you found yourself in the lead, I mean, what was going through your mind at the time?
I saw the gap kind of increased. I know Farron had the spin or half spin at Oak Tree, and at that point, it was kind of just protect the tires. You know, it's VIR. It's really easy to spin them up there with that big turbo V8. So realistically, it was just turn in some average lap times and make sure I don't hit an Audi.
And yeah, I mean, you know, I even made a note in my script saying that the Audis, honestly, one of their main focus needs to be not getting punted off by the Nissans during this race. I mean, this is such a narrow track. So, I mean, what do you do to take that extra special care?
A lot of it here, in my opinion, is lifting early and making sure you get a good drive past the apex to get out past the Audis, whether you're taking an inside cut line and kind of over-undering them, or whether you're getting an overspeed and kind of shooting around them on corner exit, which is dangerous. You know, going on the outside on corner exit, there's a few places to do it. But, you know, for the most part, if you're entering like, I don't know, turn 4, turn 5 into the snake. And then if you're going up the S's and if you're coming down through Hogpen and Roller Coaster, you really just have to, for the most part, sit behind them, because if you try to overtake them and they don't see you, you're going to end both of your races, no problem. So, you know, I think there was only one time where I went around somebody in the S's, and it was right at the start of the race when it was kind of the 4 group of GTPs. And I said to myself, you know, this is the point where you take a little extra risk to make sure you stay on that lead pack and make sure you're there to compete. But for the most part, you really just have to kind of bide your time, be careful, and wait for the mistakes to roll in.
Well, the mistakes for everybody else rolled in and not for you. Congratulations on the victory. And will we see you at Road Atlanta next week?
Probably not. I'd really like to, but you know, it's that end of week 12 into week 13. I'll be working on Lotus sets and set demos or lap demos and setups and stuff like that to try to make sure we're prepped for the other series for next season.
Understandable. Well, that was Michael DeTurk, your winner here in the Camel GTP class. And behind him, fighting for the championship, was Aitor Sintez Galindo, who lost a chunk of points today. Joey's caught up with him.
Yeah, a little bit of an up and down day for you, Aitor. Take us through the race in your eyes, especially with that little bit of an incident early on.
Well, it's been quite eventful race. Unfortunately, it wasn't right today. Yeah, I don't know which incident, because which one of many, honestly. I had like an incident with Antti, then it was nothing worth talking, honestly, just one white. And then I had the incident with the Audi. I should check the replay again. I don't know if it was my mistake. Probably was my mistake, because I'm forcing wide. And then I got 6 seconds of optionals. I said, okay, let's pit, and because I was dragging a lot in the straights, and I had to say, okay, let's fix the car and try to get some points. And then I spun twice, and it's like, well, yeah, race to forget. Unfortunately, I lost too many points today. I think if Antti is 5th, Rodolante will be champion, and nothing so deserving. So. Yeah, a tough pill to swallow today, but that's racing after all.
Definitely a tough pill to swallow. You were able to make your way back up to 9th and salvage some points out of this, though. Looking at the championship battle going into Atlanta, how do you feel about your speed at Road Atlanta in comparison to here?
If I'm honest, I don't know, because this week. This week I was confident in making some headway to Antti, because I had the setup, I had the pace, and it was like, Heitor, let's do pole and get away and win an easy race. And it's nothing exactly the opposite today. So I don't know what will happen next week. I'll try to do my best. I will prepare myself, but I won't prepare that much as this week, because after all, I'm losing like the fun, because these races are very fun to race with. But yeah, and now I have to get the mindset, if I lose, it's not the end of the world after all. So yeah, looking forward to next week. Whatever happens, happens.
It's nice you bring that up, Heitor. It's one of the things that I always preach with sim racing, is that you always have to have fun out there, and ending a race with a smile on your face, whether it's for battling for 10th if you had a good fight, or if it's for 1st, that's the most important part, is having fun. And before we let you go, is there anybody that you wanted to say thank you to out here on the radio?
Well, absolutely. My teammate Ferran, who's done an amazing race. He made a pole. Congratulations to him. Fortunately, it wasn't the win, but that's okay. And of course, my family and friends are watching. Thanks for watching me. And of course, you guys at GSRC. And yeah, that's it. See you guys at Road Atlanta next week.
Yeah, we will see you over at the next race at Road Atlanta, Heitor. Joe, back over to you. I think we've got maybe one more interview.
We've got Cam Porter, who came home 11th, last one on the lead lap, and not nearly as much going on in his, though he did have some incidents. Cam, I noticed one thing that we didn't get to cover was you had a bit of a scare there on lap 8.
Yeah, was that when Reed went off track?
Yeah, that would be the one.
Well, to his credit, he locked up his brakes trying to get his car stopped, and I couldn't see him. I only have one monitor, so I was like, where is he? And I kind of went slow, hoping that he got the car stopped. And then just as I came around the corner, he sort of popped his nose up, and I went off track, obviously trying to avoid him. I did get a 4X car contact, but luckily the car was not damaged, although it didn't really matter for me today. I didn't have much pace. This is not my track at all. So I was just happy just to bring it home. I thought I might be able to get a top 10 if there was a little more attrition, but just outside the top 10. I guess I'm okay with keeping the car clean and bringing it home in one piece, because if I can't be fast, I can at least be safe.
Exactly. And yeah, we talked about that with Michael de Turk, the winner, a little bit before, saying that he kind of was trying to give a little special care to lapping the GTOs today. I mean, you seem to say that was kind of your MO. Do you feel like you mission accomplished on that?
Absolutely. Yeah, I was, like I said, if I can't be fast, I can at least be safe, and I just didn't want to murder anybody. And I just played it really, really patient. I didn't want to make any sudden moves or anything like that. And at one point, I came up behind the fight between Javier and Yuko, and they were going at it pretty hard. I stayed behind them for like half a lap just to let them go at it, because I knew there wasn't really anyone around me. So I wasn't in a hurry. So let them go. Was able to pass them on the straightaway pretty easily. But that looked like a great battle. Can't wait to watch the broadcast back.
Well, cut the track in half, and you've basically kind of got Road Atlanta. Do you feel good about heading off to there now that you've had some experience at a bigger version, I guess?
Well, like I said, VIR is not my track. I do better at Road Atlanta, I feel, but it is going to be challenging managing the traffic, especially through the S's and things like that. But again, I'm just going to be patient, I think, and just make sure I give the Audis lots of space, make some good decisions, and just be patient.
Well, again, like you said, some spots gained up 3. Congratulations, and we look forward to seeing you in Georgia.
Thanks, Joe. See you then.
That was Cam Porter, 11th today, which is going to wrap up our interviews. So a big thank you to the Camel community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. Otherwise, we wouldn't get to witness spectacles like this. Thanks to the team today, Joey, Zach, and Dougie. And make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store. But also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. The next race is going to be at Road Atlanta, as we mentioned. That'll be Saturday, December 3rd at noon Eastern. And be sure to check out our other broadcasts listed here. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.